Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic Podcast. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I'm excited to have the conversation we are about to have today because I think taking time to be with ourselves, to get curious about what's going on in our lives, whether we think things are working or not working, and also being the kind of person who's willing to reach out for support and get the guidance of a mentor or guide or therapist or whatever kind of resource you're looking for is a big milestone in our lives.
It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur.
So I'm excited to have a brilliant guide and mentor, coach, and therapist here with us today. And we've had a few businessy episodes lately, and we're bringing back in some of that magic of tactical magic. So today I've got Dan Long here with me, who is a licensed clinical social worker who maintains private practices in both psychotherapy and personal coaching arenas. As a fellow human, Dan has face-planted enough times to combine personal experience with time-tested theoretical perspectives, bringing this unique intermingling to his public speaking, teaching, and one-to-one work. His passion for helping others discover the beauty of their true nature, eliminate barriers to thriving, and have a more luminous life experience has led him to work with hundreds of individuals on an international level. Dan lives with his partner overlooking the North Atlantic on the west coast of Scotland, where he spends his downtime immersing himself in the beauty of the area while drawing daily inspiration from the people of the region. Welcome to the show, Dan. I'm so excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you do now.
I don't know if this is a path for a lot of people, but I had a deep and sort of fiery dark night of the soul. That's probably sort of an antithesis right there. But I had a dark night of the soul that kind of smacked me in the ass and made me faceplant in a way I never had before. And when I rose up from that, I had this sort of, I'd like to call it an awakened moment of I need to be of service in a way I've never been before. Mm-hmm. I was doing things that were very me surrounded, and I decided that I didn't even decide. I think the universe kind of went, this is what you're doing. And so I ended up going back and getting a master's degree in clinical social work. And I knew I wanted to be a therapist of some sort. Coaching came after that. And, the next thing you know, I'm more focused outward rather than sort of like pointing the mirror at me all the time. So yeah, it was a dark night of the soul.
What did you notice in that shift of making your life you focused to suddenly being of service of others? I mean, I imagine that was a transformative choice. What did you notice changed for you?
I think the very me-focused way I was being, the very sort of like, I'll call it self-centered for lack of a better way of putting it, was depleting. It didn't fill me. I didn't feel like, I think what I noticed was when I started to become more of service to others, I had the experience of being full all the time with light, with energy, with, I think, more love, if we're really going to break it down, and the sort of focus on myself all the time. How come I'm not succeeding in this arena, whether it be acting or whatever it was? And how come I can't seem to get it? And there were always sort of negative questions around that. When I started going, how can I help the individuals I'm serving right now more? It's like I had a battery pack that I didn't know that I had. So I felt filled up by that, whereas diminished by the other. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually have this experience on a semi-regular basis where I wake up having not such a great day and, my normal daily rituals don't quite cut it. And then I get on a call with a client and something comes through me that charges me up like a battery. And I leave every client session just feeling so much lighter than I did before. So we'll just add that to anyone out there listening. It's possible that when you find the work you're meant to be doing, whether that's in service to others or whether that's in some sort of creative pursuit, it might fill you up more than you think is possible. And it becomes a place for so much beauty and positivity to be running your life. Definitely.
Yeah. I was running my vessel dry before. And when in this work, I feel like I'm a conduit for something that's me, but it's bigger than me.
Totally. I love that you use the word conduit too, because it does feel like we're plugging ourselves into a piece of a circuit. And when that energy runs through us, it charges us up like a battery. I totally see that from that sort of scientific standpoint. So who is it mostly that you work with? Where do people usually find themselves when they come to you?
So with my psychotherapy practice, which I have sort of let go of a bit in America, I was on Psychology Today, and so I'm in Psychology Today now in the UK. But people find me, interestingly, through word of mouth, or see me on TikTok, which I'm getting a lot of coaching clients from TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Yes, I do TikTok. It's really, really great. I love the community there. I love being able to present these 1 minute videos on things that I'm either working on or I have learned and still faceplant with. And so I say, here's some wisdom for you that's bigger than me.
Mhm.
And so people find me like that. But really, the word of mouth thing, somebody works with me and then they must talk about it at a barbecue. And the next thing you know, it's getting passed on to somebody in another city on the other side of the United States or in Australia, for God's sake, who says, I've got this friend who lives in New York who talked to her friend in California, and I think I need some help here. And I looked at your website, fill in the blank, and there we go. And I'm like, how does this happen? But, we just allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a sign of also working from such a non-ego place. You're doing work that is coming through you and that people are receiving that. That is a space of lightness and that is like a magical quality to it. So it makes perfect sense that that word of mouth spreads like wildfire so that more people can get access to whatever that is that you're tuning into and allowing to come through you, which is no small feat. I'll add.
No. Oh my gosh. I mean, for me, allowing is like, I think, part of the greatest work that I have to do because I so want to control everything.
Yeah.
And so sitting with the space of, okay, I'm going to listen and I'm just going to allow this. This is the intention I have here. What quality of being can I bring to the world around me, the immediate circle, my greater community, yada, yada. And then just allow, and trust that, for me, the universe is just going to bring where I need to be of service. But I'm always thinking my brain wants to go, but we have to make sure we advertise well. And we need to make sure that we market this and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I have to let go of that. And I have a time with that. To be frank, I mean, it's not the easiest thing for me. And here I work with people on the same thing, which is kind of interesting because we both are learning from each other in that process. I'm like, oh yeah, you just reminded me that I need to do this too.
Yeah, definitely. I find that if I say something to more than one client in a given week, I'm starting to listen like, oh, this might be information for me. Yeah.
We've had one of those weeks over here for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, I want to just speak to the people who are on that journey of maybe they're starting to recognize they can't do the whole inner work journey themselves and that they're maybe ready to start reaching out or looking for support or, some people who just don't want to get all the way to the dark night of the soul to make the choice to shift something. What would you say to that? Or what would be some places for people to start looking internally for signs that it's time to get support?
As a therapist, I do this work called Hakomi, which is a mindfulness-centered somatic psychotherapy. So we look at the body, right? And we listen to the body, and the body tells us where we are figuratively in any given moment. So when we're having the experience of something that's painful or difficult and we feel stuck in that, well, for me, anyway, I experience emotions in my body, my solar plexus, in my chest, in my throat, right? And so I would say the first place, which I was never good at until I learned this work, a decade ago, listen to your body. So when you run something through your mind, I think I want to have this sort of thing in front of me. And how do I create that? And you get sensations in your body that say, oh man, that feels good. Why does that feel good? What feels good about that? That's guiding you in a direction, I feel. Whereas when we run something else through our mind and we try not to overthink it and our body's going, something doesn't feel right in the chest. We get a little tightness in our solar plexus. No panic. Just listen and say, maybe this doesn't feel good for whatever reason. And if I can allow that answer to come to me, well, there we go. So for me, it starts in the body because I noticed over my 54 years, my body tells me first and foremost everything. My brain does not do that. The monkey mind gets involved and then it, trashes up the space and then I can't see the clarity out of any of it. Whereas if I just listen to my body, that's what I would say to people. And that's how I begin the work with people. We do mindfulness-centered work. And then I ask them all the time, what's your body telling you in this moment? Is it telling you anything? Yeah, it's unclear, but it's telling me something. That's enough right there.
Super important to start listening and paying attention, because there's actually scientific evidence to prove that the body has an awareness of things before the mind can actually grok something.
Yeah.
That the heart is actually aware of a threat or a discomfort before the brain can cognitively get to where that place is and understand it.
Yeah.
So that's a super powerful,
exactly.
like tact way to go about it, is start tuning in and connecting to your body. And the beauty of that is if you get to work with someone like you, or even just dig into this kind of somatic awareness stuff, that there's so much more to be understood in your life that most people will just look over or make excuses about, or, justify, or, use our brains to make sense of, that may be going against what our body is actually asking us for. And there's a flow state that's possible when we follow what our body truly knows. Yeah. Are there any like tools we can give people when they are aware of something going on in their body? What can they go to? What are some questions to ask? Or
yeah, see, I love that you used flow state, Molly, because there's so many people talking about flow states out there, but I think it's just the most, whatever your feeling of a flow state is, whatever your definition of that is the one that's going to work for you, right? And when I ask people, do you feel like you're in flow, right? If they just say no, right? Oh, great, you're already in touch with that, what that means for you. You don't have to overthink it. With like cognitive behavioral therapy, that there's a lot of thinky stuff that goes on with that, with tracking our thoughts, and we write all that stuff down. And I'm not a huge fan of journaling for myself, but I know that for many people that I've worked with, probably 3/4, that when we start to set our intention to maybe not understand, but hold whatever it is we have questions about, then for many people, I have found anyway, that if they begin to write things down, like when you wake up from a dream and you journal about that for half a second, or you say, I'm going to take 2 minutes in the morning, like in Morning Pages out of The Artist's Way, and I'm going to, not like Morning Pages necessarily, but I'm going to do kind of a brain dump. What's occurred to me this morning before I go into the world, I'm going to write that down, whether it's dictating it on a phone. I find that the intention setting that way, sort of mapping it out in physical reality, meaning it ends up on paper or it ends up on your phone, does something to the brain, because the brain goes, ooh, we're tracking this. Yeah. Instead of just willy-nilly kind of going, oh yeah, all that shit in my head and I can't, I don't know what to do with any of that. And then we just go about our day, and then we wonder why a week later that shit's still bothering us. It's like, okay, maybe if we sit there and track it actively in physical reality, the brain will go, oh, hang on. Oh, I've got to do something with this, right? Be gentle, but I'm going to do something with this. So, that has been good for me, even though I hate the whole journaling thing. But when I do it, I notice that I get more in alignment with me.
Yeah.
Doesn't it figure?
Absolutely. I'm a totally different person on a day that I do my Morning Pages than on a day that I don't. And I love the idea that that's like telling your brain I'm tracking this. It's also like giving your brain permission. You don't have to keep stewing on this because we've put it somewhere. It's like, here it is. It's safe. You can come back to it anytime you want. You don't have to hold it in your head anymore because we've dumped it out. It's like, it just clears so much space. And to do it in the morning means that you get to go through your whole day with less junk in your head, which means you have the capacity to do more stuff with your day, which is brilliant. Yeah. And I love that you give that. I love that you give that insight that you don't like journaling, but that you use that as a tool anyway.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's the thing that I don't like to do, but somehow it impacts the way I function, And so I guarantee, to as far as I can guarantee it, that even if it occurs to you later on, the junk that you've put down in whatever format that you put it down, when it occurs to you later on, you have a kind of like cognitive space there because you've already roadmapped it, and you're like looking back at it with a mindful kind of space, rather than the clutter coming up and clouding your vision while you're trying to get all the work done at your Goldman Sachs job or whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah. You've got it sort of put in a little compartment, and you're like, yeah, I see you, and we're going to deal with you tonight in my meditation. End of.
Awesome. So meditation may be another tool that you recommend. Easy segue.
I do. Yes. Nice segue. Yeah. I do recommend that, especially for people like me who were gifted with anxiety, right? I talk about anxiety being a superpower, but anxiety can be a barrier to thriving in any given moment if we allow it. Meditation for me is really, really key. I do a very specific sort of lots of little 2 to 3 minute meditations all day long, like check-ins, track the breath, what's the clutter, just ask the question, no judgment, right? I used to do 30-minute long meditations, but I think whatever you find that works for you and whatever you decide to call meditation, whether it's sitting in your favorite chair with your cup of tea, waiting until you take 2 minutes just to breathe, yeah, whatever space that gives you to move forward with the next task you've got to do that day, it's meditation, and it's beneficial because when none of us, I think, or many of us don't stop during the day. I know that I can be driven. It can be 8 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you know, it's 4:30, and I've been whizzing around doing things, and I have forgotten to take some kind of mindful space 11 times like I do during the day. Mm-hmm. And my day's very different by the end of it. I'm depleted. I might be moody. Just ask the person I live with, like, oh, no meditation today. Yeah, nope. Right. And we're not talking about that, but thank you. We'll do that tomorrow, right? Or maybe now.
Yeah. It's just a night and day difference when we take that time for ourselves, whether it's journaling or meditation or both, and when we don't. And, I think we go through life, at least I'll speak for myself. I've gone through life forgetting those tools and going through times where I just don't use them. And not recognizing that that's a source for more stress, more anxiety, more discomfort in my life. And it seems like a lot when you're caught up in the monkey mind to say, I'm going to add something that takes time to my day. But the truth is the amount of time it expands in your day by taking those moments. It's really profound. So I think, it's really good.
Do you have the experience of when you take time like that, do you notice that it's almost like the space-time continuum slows down in a way, and there's been more space in the day? Have you had that experience?
Yeah. And there's some proverb, or I don't know if it's Longchen Pa or somebody, that maybe it was Buddha, that said, if you don't meditate for an hour every morning, if you don't have time to meditate for an hour, meditate for 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah. True. And so, I do notice that when I take these mindful moments during the day, that the day seems longer, and I'm like, wow, where did I get this extra 2 hours to get these tasks done? Whereas when I don't, the day feels like an hour and a half long, and then I've still got a list that I haven't completed, and I'm wondering, where was my energy spent?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but it's totally like time warp magic to add spaciousness to your day. Yeah. It's awesome.
It is. Really, I do think it's magic.
Yeah. So tell us
like
about
actual magic.
100%. That's why we call this magic. It is a tactical. So tell us, because I know there are people listening who are entrepreneurs. I'm sure we have some therapists on the line. We have some coaches on the line. Tell us about the dance between those two different, not always different, but I know they're sort of different tactics, and to be doing both simultaneously. I'd love to hear your take on how that works and how you found that to work for you.
The thing that I discovered once I decided I wanted to do coaching as well as therapy, after having been in a private practice. Well, I'd worked in a facility for mental health treatment for a while, and then I started a private practice, and then I said I want to coach as well because I feel like I have a contribution there. And then I did some coaching training, and I was like, wow, not unlike therapy. The thing with therapy, and the difference between coaching and therapy, is often with therapy, when we're looking at a present moment with who we're sitting with, and you come to a therapist and you sit down and we say, okay, what's going on? Often the perspective we take is from this moment, and we look back towards the past, if there is actually such a thing, and look at development and what's led you to this moment, and how is it that you're showing up in this way, right? And we do that when you work with me in a very spacious, gentle, let's have no judgment, let's start practicing non-judgment, whether you've had a traumatic childhood, whatever that is. And then it sort of gives us a new lens for looking at where we are now. So when someone comes to me and they're sort of in the crosshairs between coaching and therapy, and they're like, I don't know if I need a coach or a therapist, the first question out of my mouth is, have you ever done therapy? Maybe you need to explore some of that stuff that's back there. With coaching, this is how I see it anyway. We're looking at now. We've done a lot of homework on our past. There may be stuff that still infiltrates, as it always will, into our present moment, and creates barriers to us to being able to be in the best alignment with our true self. But coaching's now, can we take all those tools, and then how are we looking forward? And what are we going to do with everything we know about who we are, however we might define that. And then we're going to think about what's my next step to getting forward momentum into taking all my cosmic fabulosity and then shooting forward, right? If the past is still holding us up, we probably need a therapist. And so I don't do both with people. It wouldn't be ethical. So if someone comes to me and I assess and they're going to do therapy with me, they're never a coaching client. Even if they're like rocking it hard after we've done all the work, I'm like, go and get yourself a coach. I got some recommendations for you. If they come to me as a coaching client, we don't do therapy. I might go, do you think this has to do with something back there? Yeah. And if it does, I'll be like, you need to talk to your therapist a little bit more. Can we look at that lightly here? But we're not going to do therapy because that's not ethical either. If I open that can of worms with them, they should do that with their, board licensed clinician. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. One is more healing the past and one is more attacking the future.
Yeah. I imagine that you have a similar perspective, but I don't know.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense to me. I don't really consider myself fully a coach, although I totally am. I don't really market myself as a coach, but I coach coaches for sure. But yeah, the therapy is like the unpacking of those pieces. I'm also an NLP certified coach. And that sort of looks at the timeline in a way, but it's not the same as, intensive psychotherapy.
Right. Super effective skill to have, though.
Yeah, totally. And hypnotherapy too, which is different than traditional therapy, but also goes into the past and past lives also. Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And I love that you have that really clear boundary of if you have a client, that's one relationship that you have with them and you're not trying to double dip. And I think that's something important for people to hear, is that it's okay to stay in your lane. Even if you have two lanes, it's okay to stay in your lane with that client and not try to be everything for everyone when you have a specific relationship and a specific target for that client's relationship with you.
Both sides of it are very rewarding.
Yeah. And that's such a prosperity mindset to have, in addition to the ethics of it, is that this person uses me for this thing and I will refer you if you need someone for that other side of it. That's such a generous place and such an authentic place to be coming from, I think.
Yeah, because there's always somebody, I think there's always support out there. We just need to seek it. And the right support for us is there. I've found that my whole life when I've been completely effing lost. I have managed to somehow find support that has either kicked my ass back into gear or has lovingly lifted me above the clouds to say, see the view you want to see, right? And it's been there. And I think there's someone for everyone out there. And if it's not the therapist, it's the coach or vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. That's for everyone out there listening. It's okay to get support, number one. And number two, there is somebody who's perfectly designed to support you. And it may be.
Yeah, I believe that.
So what are you most excited about in your business right now?
Ooh, I have recently published a book about recovering your power and purpose in the aftermath of a cheater. I'm very strengths focused with a sort of lovely, I find, overlay of psychological and spiritual. So we look at so I would even call it an ontological book. So we're looking at the quality of our being. If we've had someone, be unfaithful, whether that be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, spouse, wife, whatever, how can we stay buoyant in the aftermath of that? And that book came out of personal experience. I said, oh, wow, this has happened to me in a very acute way. And then in the months following, I thought, why in the hell am I staying so floaty and able to keep my shit together? And so I studied it. And then I started looking at all the wisdom that I brought in from all these great minds, everyone from, Iyanla Vanzant to the Buddha, to the Dalai Lama, to, Pema Chodron, just great teachers. And then how could I incorporate that in this present moment? And would these tools that I've gleaned from them, kind of rethought through my wonky but fabulous brain, work for somebody if they read this little guidebook? Could they read this guidebook and say, I'll do chapter 7 and chapter 11 because those things will get me through this? Yeah. And so my book, I'm most excited about. I am in the marketing phase. I'm speaking about it on podcasts. I do book signings here and there. And so it's really, 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 really good.
What's the best place for people to go and find out more about that?
It's distributed in any good bookstore, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones here in the UK. You can get it on Amazon. It's called When They Cheat: Recovering Your Power and Purpose in the Face of Loss and Uncertainty. And you can find it anywhere. So if you just type in when they cheat as a Google search, it's been coming up for people. So
amazing. I can't wait. I'm
yeah.
definitely going to read that. And that's such a powerful thing to look at too, because it tends to be in relationships, I've noticed in myself and in people that I love and have witnessed, that when something crappy happens in a relationship, we tend to find the same person over and over again in different people, or the same dynamic over and over again in different people, until we're ready to face that thing that we haven't unpacked or unlocked or really looked at. Noticing, especially if you've been cheated on, you don't want to keep recurring that situation to understand it. You want to look at what that was and heal that so that you don't have to do it again. Not to curse anybody.
And hopefully by the end of it, well, I get it. I mean, I know, I've been there and done that. And, you do come out of that going, I don't want this again, and so how can I study myself in this moment that either gets me to a more buoyant place, or I discover that I have this buoyancy, right? And then I bring more wisdom to my next interaction with a potential partner, because I become more clear about how I hold anger. I become more clear about how I want to show up in any relationship, whether that's with the girl at the grocery store who's checking my groceries out, to the person that my heart's going pitter-patter for.
I can't wait to read that book. So I'm going to go look that up, and we will put that name of the book in the show notes for people too, so that they can easily find it and go check it out. What is your website? What are the places people can go and follow you? What's your TikTok handle so people can come and follow you?
Okay. So TikTok handle is at Gabberflasted, sort of a backwards, twisty way of saying flabbergasted, but Gabberflasted. The website is just simple, www.mcscoach, as in Mindful Coaching Solutions Coach.com. And then I have an Instagram that I'm on every once in a while, a DW Long Official. And yeah, that's kind of how you get it. There's a web form on my website, so you can connect with me that way. And I think if you just kind of Google me, if you want, people can find me, I think.
Yeah, you're findable. But I know people like to follow on Instagram. So if you guys open your phones and look up DW Long Official, and is your TikTok, if it's hard to spell, is it connected to your Instagram somewhere?
It is, yeah. Well, actually, because I kind of cross post there, so you'll see TikTok videos over on the Instagram, so it's easy to kind of just go hunt me down.
Awesome, cool. And I will go follow you on TikTok after we get off of this call too. Yeah. Are there any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
I think this is the thing this week that I've said, how we were talking earlier about it seems like the thing we say a lot to clients is like the thing the universe is kind of going, hello, could you please pay attention to this? You're not just spitting this out for them. Be gentle with yourself. Whatever you are holding in any given moment, whether it's the most exciting thing you're up for or it's a moment of darkness, and be gentle with yourself, because I think in recent weeks I've not been so gentle with myself, and I keep having to say that to people, and I keep forgetting, that everyone's a mirror. and so the listeners, whatever you're going through and whatever you're looking at right now, be gentle with yourself. It's really pretty easy to do if you just calm down and go, this is already hard enough. I don't need to be hard on myself.
That one hit me real hard today. So thank you for that. Be gentle with yourself. Take time for you. Be with you. Yeah, super important. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And thank you everyone out there for listening and for watching. We will put the links to that stuff in the show notes for you. Definitely check out that book. Definitely follow and see the wisdom that Dan is dropping on TikTok and on Instagram. And we will be back next week for another episode of Tactical Magic. Bye.